Hey, hey. Hi, Jackie.
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. So for those who don't know me, I'm Pronger Faulkner. I'm here today with Jacci Robyn Lötter to talk about our book collaboration called Absolute Will, which was released in October 2021. So the idea for this collaboration came to me earlier this year as I was still working on my first book, actually, in early January. And I kept allowing myself to get distracted with other things on my to-do list, one of which was trying to come up with a fundraising idea for a project that my fiance Mike and I want to do in Nicaragua. And eventually the urge to create an inspirational collaboration was becoming something that I couldn't ignore. And I knew I needed to turn this concept into a reality. I really wanted women from as many countries as possible from around the world to make this a global effort of inspiring others, which it has done. And I wanted every story to have a health and willpower aspect to it as well. So when the idea hit me that a book collaboration would be a great way to fundraise, this book quickly became my #1 priority to make it happen before the end of the year. And as you know, Jackie, we had some pretty tight timelines at times. So all of the profits from the author entry fees and the sales through the first month of our launch are going towards Mike and I building a house for a family in Nicaragua who doesn't have a home of their own. And I am so thrilled that we have 21 authors in this book, me and Jackie and 19 other amazing women from 7 countries around the world. Our authors are from Canada, the United Kingdom, the United Arab Emirates, the United States, Australia, South Africa, and Bulgaria, each sharing our personal, vulnerable, insightful, true stories of willpower when facing emotional and mental health crises, physical injuries, and disease. This book is also self-published and self-promoted by our authors. We didn't do this through a big name publishing house. This is a grassroots effort, which makes what we've done with it all the more incredible. My first book became a bestseller in 2 categories, so I was pretty sure that we could do it with absolute will, especially after tweaking some of my marketing strategies, plus the fact that we would have a built-in book launch team with all 21 of us sharing about it. What I didn't expect, and what none of us expected, I'm sure, is that we would hit #1 bestseller in 9 categories across 3 countries, Canada, the US, and Australia, and that we would hit #1 new release in 31 categories across 4 countries, Canada, the US, Australia, and the UK. And this has just been in the first few weeks after our live launch. I've got goosebumps just like talking about it.
I'm sure that if South Africa had Amazon, it would be in there as well.
Exactly. So the reviews so far on this book say that these stories are raw, real, thought-provoking, heartwarming, life-changing, well-written, and that this book is a fantastic read. Can't put it down. The stories are truly inspiring. You feel a personal connection to each of the writers' journeys, which I just love that comment because we really worked hard for that one. And that this book has given so much hope to others. These are all direct quotes from reviews on Amazon. So Jackie's chapter is called Daisies in the Holes in My Heart, Chapter 5 in Absolute Will. Welcome, Jackie. It is so amazing to have you here.
Thank you so much. It's such an honor and such an immense pleasure to be here. Thank you.
So can you tell everyone a little bit about who you are, where you're from, and what your chapter is about in Absolute Will?
Okay, well, I'm from South Africa, and I'm a mom of 2 living children. Our little boy is a 9-year-old and a 4-year-old. And my husband is an architect, and we fought long and hard to have our children. And so that's a little bit about what we are, what we discuss as our journey to get there, but very specifically about our journey with our daughter, and how in that journey, how fraught that was and how emotional that was, because she passed away. And living life after the death of a child is something that changes you completely, and it's just something that needed to be written about. It definitely needed to be written about. In South Africa, we are a hardy bunch of people. We come through a lot. We're very resilient, and we know how to fight. It's that I really appreciate about my heritage, and definitely has stood me in good stead when we've been going through a lot of the loss that we've gone through. So I wanted to write about that, and I wanted to let everybody know that hard stuff happens to everybody, and we don't have to suffer alone.
That's amazing. And your chapter is just so, it's written in such a way that is so vulnerable and so emotional and just touching. I still can't read it without crying. I can't get through it. And I mean, I've read it over and over and over. It is gripping the way that you've written it. And just such a powerful message too of, like you said, you know, you can get through hard things, and you've, you know, done it in a way that is so inspiring. And I really appreciate having your chapter in this book. It's amazing.
Thank you. I'm very grateful that you feel that way. It is very vulnerable, and it is something that, you know, when you write about it, and it's something that I've wanted to write about for 12 years. Today is actually the anniversary of her death. And it's something I have never given much airtime to, because I believe that the date of her birth is something to be rejoiced and celebrated, and this day doesn't get bandwidth from me. But I feel like it's fitting today because I get to speak about it, and the reason is for good. The reason is because we're bringing her name out in the open more, and we're getting to honor her, and also every single woman's journey to parenthood, and every single woman who's experienced loss, to honor them and their children, their parents, whoever they've lost. And so I really appreciate that you say that, and I appreciate that that it's something that, as vulnerable as it is, it's there because I would love for people to see that emotion is not something that we need to hide from everybody. And these hard experiences make us different, and they can make us better, not necessarily bitter. But I'm a talker, so I need to talk about it. And I haven't had the courage to do it until now. So I'm very grateful that I get to be a part of that journey here.
That's amazing. So we connected. I'm trying to keep myself together. Thank you for your patience right now. You are so brave holding yourself together through you know what we're talking about, and you know every time we've connected, you've just been such a rock. I just really admire that about you. Now, we connected because of a business program that we are in together under Martha Krejci, who also wrote the foreword in Absolute Will. When you first found out about this collaboration, what made you want to jump in?
Jo, I think a couple of things. First of all, as I mentioned, I've been wanting to write about this particular part of our journey for 12 years, and people have been telling me that I need to write about it because it's so unique, and I haven't had the courage. I certainly haven't had the courage to do it on my own. And because I had gotten to know you a little bit through that connection with the business group, I felt like I could trust you, and I felt like I could have a bit of a soft landing into writing about it, because it was amongst other women who'd also done hard things, that I would have you to hold my hand through all the processes that I knew nothing about. I mean, I've been in education and higher education and the infertility industry for years. I don't know anything about publishing. And so that, I think, stopped me from writing about this. And I wanted that to not be a deterrent anymore. And this provided the platform for me to do that, so that I could focus on the things that I knew, which was the situation, writing about it, and not on the things that I had no idea about otherwise. So I felt like you were my safe place. And that's why I ended up getting into it, and I've loved it. I'm so grateful that I could do it with you. It's been an awesome, awesome journey.
Wow, thank you. That's amazing. Oh, I'm flattered. That's awesome. And I'm just so grateful to have you in this as well. So, oh, I just want to hug you from, across the globe.
No, when can we meet? Let's go to Nicaragua together. Go build that house together.
That would be fantastic. So writing seems to bring out different experiences for different people. How was the actual writing process for you? And did anything surprise you while you were writing your chapter?
So many things. I will be honest with you. I used to journal before everything happened with our daughter Chloe, and after that I have never been able to. It felt like I was reliving things that I wasn't prepared to. And what was surprising to me is that as much as I cried through it, it was also incredibly healing, and it was also amazing how much came back to me, but in a good way. I've had 12 years to process this, and it's something that is never going to, I'm never going to be over it. We don't get over the loss of a child or a parent. They are a part of you, and that's something to honor, but it becomes easier to speak about. And through this writing process, it's been incredible to me to see how freeing it was, how I could enjoy that moment where I was in a safe place in my room, at my desk, writing about it, and being able to cry and write and let the emotion come out, because I wasn't filtering myself for anybody else at that point. When you speak to somebody about these hard things, I tend to really look at them, and I'm seeing how they're feeling, and knowing that this is hard for a person to hear, and knowing that how are they going to react to it? Because what do you say? What do you say to a woman who's lost her child? There is nothing that's going to make that better. And my husband and I were acutely aware of that, and so we found ourselves trying to be okay to speak to people about it, because we were shielding them from having to react in an appropriate way, because people react really stupidly sometimes to things, but purely out of lack of knowledge of what to say. So writing the book was something that I could really release the events, not always the feeling, but the events as they needed to come out and as they needed to unfold, and I could feel without having to censor myself. So that was incredible. It was incredible to feel how it all came together eventually. It was incredible to see how much I wrote. There's a lot more book in me, and and having to make it into a small chapter was, oh my word, that was incredibly difficult to do. So it made me realize that there's more in me, and it's kind of lit a fire in me that I would like to enjoy the heat of for a little while at least.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I just love that. And you're so right that people don't know how to react. So to be able to release all of that through this chapter, and then have people be able to digest it and then react to you, because you are having people coming to you who have now read your chapter, right? Who are giving you, letting you know how it made them feel and how amazing your chapter is. So that's a really neat, insight. Now, this is your
messages from people, and emails from people, and it's just incredible to see who's actually reading it and what they're saying about it, and it's just wow, it's amazing. I'm so grateful that it gets to reach so many people so that all the stories can be heard.
Absolutely. And this is your first collaboration, but not your last, which is amazing. So based on these experiences, and let's also talk about your other collaboration that you're working on, do you think that you will want to write your own book? And do you think you're going to continue on doing more collaborations?
Yes, and yes, definitely. So Yes. I have another collaboration that is actually launching tomorrow. It's about infertility success. So very, very exciting.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. And it's definitely something I wouldn't have done because it was a shorter timeline. I wouldn't have done if I hadn't done Absolute Will first. And it's kind of taught me how to do this process a little bit. And so it's given me courage, which is what I was hoping for. And then we'll do a follow on next year as well. Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit later, but I am definitely going to be writing my own book as well. I feel like, also with your help and knowing a little bit more about the process and understanding a little bit more just makes me feel more confident to go ahead and write my own book and put all the words that are in my head out onto a full book, because one chapter is hard to do.
I love that. That's amazing. So what is your top piece of advice for someone who might be thinking that they want to become a published author?
Oh man, I would definitely say to do it in a collaboration like this. I just feel like it's just an incredible opportunity to get a little bit of rah-rah behind you, and especially if it's something that's difficult for you to write about, that you have people who are supportive of you, who are going through the same process, that you can kind of bounce things off of. Having somebody like yourself to do the things, the editing and book covers and wow, all the other things that aren't necessarily within our own wheelhouse. I just feel like that is an amazing thing, an amazing way to start. And also it gives you like a little bite-sized kind of a bite-sized idea of what's to come. So I think that would be my biggest takeaway from writing, and some advice to people would just be to write and let it flow, and just definitely time block and don't do it in front of other people. It can get ugly. The ugly cry is really ugly.
So true, especially when you're writing something so emotional, and like you already talked about too, you're going back into that time frame or time period of your life and almost reliving it, right, to be able to get those words out onto paper. So yes, it is something that needs to be done alone.
Yeah, and I think also there's obviously so many different types of books, and my chapter was dealing a lot with mental health and with infertility, and the mental health thing really is something that people don't like to talk about. They feel that they're going to be judged. So it's important to write about that in a space that is safe for you, and with people that are going to give you good, positive feedback, but also honest feedback. Because a lot of the things that I wrote about are deeply personal, but I think that the stigma needs to be taken away from things that like depression and anxiety. There are so many of us who are struggling with that at the moment, and it's the world that we live in, and yet we don't want to admit to it somehow. And I feel like that alienates other people from admitting it, and getting help that they actually really need. And I feel like, yes, I'm a talker. Yes, I can share things about my life because that's part of who I am, but it's harder for other people. And if by me sharing those things actually helps somebody else to kind of go, you know what, if there are other people out there who are seeking help and are getting help through different ways, just get the help, because it makes life so much better. Sometimes hard things happen. Sometimes life is just mean, and it doesn't mean that you're broken because you need some help to get over that, and to or not to get over that particular issue, but to get over that period in your life where things are just so hard. To just inspire people to kind of go, it is what it is. You know what? Get something that helps you. There's no shame in it to get help when things are rough. And we don't have to be, this definition of strong is not us plowing through life, no matter what happens, and being la-di-da and not caring about it. You know, the definition of strength is so much more than that. So yeah, I mean, look, anybody who's going to write a book is going to be strong. Is going to have to be strong, because whether they're writing about themselves or writing about something else, they kind of putting themselves out there. And I just am so blown away by how accepting everybody has been of that, and how kind people have been. You expect people to be judgmental in some way, but I haven't found any of that yet, and I'm so grateful.
That's incredible. I love that. So what else are you up to, and what's next for you?
Well, I have been exploring my loves and things that make my heart sing. And that's something, you know, you cannot stand over a newborn baby and not think about how they are the most important people in the world, and they're the most important thing to do in the world. And at the time that our daughter Chloe was born, that is a promise that I made to myself, and I'm getting to live that more and more every single day. I promised myself I would never work another 16 or 18-hour day because I had to. That if I did, it was going to be out of passion and not out of neglect for my children. And what I've been able to do since has been something that's really been good for my soul. I'm involved in the infertility industry. I work with an egg donor agency called Nurture, who help women to have children, or help families to have children. And it's just an incredible gift. It's amazing. I love what I do. I'm also involved in the higher education industry, and you know, higher education for me is something I'm also very, very passionate about, because you know, there are just too many people in South Africa who don't get an education, and I love doing what I do. I love being in that space, and I love the people that I work with. It's really quite wonderful. So that's what I'm up to at the moment. The books, my own book, and another collaboration or two might be coming in the next half of next year. And just in the meantime, I'm enjoying my children. I'm building a foundation for our family that's going to be eternal, and that's really important to me. That the things that have eternal consequence come first, and that we are living our passions and doing good things for people, and kind of that's what we're living by at the moment, is just making sure that all of that happens, so that our children can see how life is meant to be lived, not in the rat race, not just doing anything so that you can get by. Life is meant to be lived, enjoyed, and loved, and there will be painful parts, but they need to be sprinkled with the beauty of the world, and so that's what we're striving towards at the moment.
That is amazing. So amazing. So if you would like to connect with Jacci after hearing more about her story and her life, you can do that through her website at jaccilotter.com, as well as Linktree under Jacci Lötter. Jacci, thank you so much for being in this collaboration and for your time today. Your story and how you are living your full life to be a positive example to so many others is so inspiring, given what you've gone through. And I am so honored that you chose to share such vulnerable times of your life in absolute will.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Jo. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate you and the way that you've handled everything. You've been amazing. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. It's been a joy to work with you. All right, see you later.
Thank you. Bye.